Hey, what's up everyone? It's the Tyrant here, and this is a bit of an impromptu video. I was not expecting to post this, and this is going to be off the cuff. So I do want to apologize in advance if I stutter or pause a little bit. I wasn't really preparing for this, but I did want to get my thoughts and opinions out there now, because this is fresh news, and I hope 343 sees this and does at least take it seriously. They probably won't, but you never know. So, I'll get straight to the point. There's no intro here other than what I just said. If you haven't seen the tweet yet or haven't heard the news, Unishek, who, works for 343, announced on Twitter that as a result of Season 2, or part of Season 2, being released for Halo Infinite, the Scorpion gun, aka the tank gun, is being quote-unquote patched for the campaign. Now, he doesn't explicitly say that it's being removed, but it is heavily implied both by his parent tweet as well as the tweets that follow in terms of his replies to other folks. And this is most likely going to be the cause, whether or not the Scorpion gun will remain in the game at all. In some way, shape, or form, I don't know. That information has not been given yet. But I, for one, am very upset by this. Now, before I go any further, most of you at this point know, I've been doing Mythic, aka laser walkthroughs, for 14 years now, all the way back to 2008, starting with Halo 3. And that's actually how I got recon armor for Halo 3 before it was made accessible to the public through VidMaster achievements. I had it for a year and a half because of that, before it became available to the public, and I'm very proud of that. And so, for folks who use the Scorpion gun for Legendary or Lazo, I'm 100% down for that, because glitches have always been a staple in my walkthroughs. Things you can exploit in the games to make your life easier, and I've always tried to present those to you as as much as possible, just so you can actually have that achievement. And glitches have been around since the very first game, 20 years ago, over 20 years ago now, because Halo Combat Evolved came out in 2001, we're in 2022 now. They have always existed, and the most talented speedrunners for Halo in the world continue to use them. The fastest legendary speedrun I've seen for Combat Evolved was in roughly an hour. That is extremely impressive, something I could never do personally, but they utilize glitches to do it. Traditionally, glitches in campaign have not ever been removed, even through ports and remasters, and this is the first time this has happened. As long as the glitches don't affect multiplayer, they leave them in. The only exception to this rule, is the sword lunge from Halo 2, but the only reason that Bungie removed that was because the sword lunge also affected multiplayer as well. And so that's why that was removed, and I understand that one. But the Scorpion gun for Halo Infinite is in a completely different category. It only affects campaign. It's completely optional to pick up. If you don't want to pick it up and you want to play the campaign the regular way, you certainly can. But in my opinion, it adds a lot of replay value to it. For those who just want to blow things up. And so, in that regard, I have to say, 343, what the f*** were you thinking? Again, assuming that this is your goal, is to take the tank gun out, or the Scorpion gun, why? There are other issues with the campaign that desperately need to be fixed, and I'll address those in a bit, but for now, that's not one of them. It really isn't. In the entire history of the Halo franchise, glitches have never been patched. Even if they're unintentional by the developer, they're there, and they allow a lot of replay value to the game, especially to speedrunners. I'm not a speedrunner personally. I'm someone who creates strategy guides to make the game easier for other people. This was a tool to make Halo Infinite easier for people who wanted to beat the game on Legendary and Lazo. And the decision to take it out, again, if that is your intent, makes zero sense to me. Why would you do that? So I'm going to start by saying this. First of all, this is not an attack on Unyshek. You know, for the record, I think he's a great guy. I think that he is an excellent community manager. He's doing a great job. I know that, you know, people have criticized him for some of his tweets in recent history, but I think he's an excellent employee. I love his streams, and he's an asset to the team. This is not an attack on Unyshek. He is just the one who, unfortunately, had to make the message public. Do not shoot the messenger. Unyshek's a great guy. It's the people behind the scenes that I'm really pissed at right now. For those of you who don't understand what the Scorpion gun is, I'm sure most of you do at this point. It's a weapon that was unintentionally left in the campaign. It's a weapon that you can obtain in the third mission, Outpost Harmonious, by climbing on top of the downed UNSC ship, getting on top of one of the anti-air cannons towards the rear of the ship. I think that's the rear of the ship. It's the back end, whatever. You can hop on, I think, either gun, actually. There's two of them there, or two cannons at that back gun, and pick it up. And essentially it allows you to fire infinite Scorpion gun rounds, or infinite Scorpion tank rounds. It does fire at your feet, which kind of sucks, but you can use it. And the blast does not damage the player, it only damages enemies. And as long as you don't drop it, because if you drop it, you lose it. As long as you don't drop it, you can keep it with you throughout the entire campaign. I imagine this has made a lot of legendary runs for people easier, as well as Lazo, and that's perfectly fine with me. Again, I've been using glitches in Halo games for 14 years now. So the fact that they're at least implying that they're going to remove it is just, wow, why would they do that? So I'm gonna pause for a moment here and just go through some of the glitches that we've seen throughout the years. In Halo Combat Evolved, one of the most famous ones is the Keys glitch, where you can skip through almost the entire Keys mission, beat it in just a matter of minutes, because you can clip through the battle cruiser, or I'm sorry, Covenant cruiser, at the beginning of the mission. Halo 2, Outskirts glitch, obviously. That's one of the big ones. You can just hop over things. You can also use the weapons glitch between certain missions and have, for example, even if you finish a mission in Halo 2 that's connected with the next mission, say, for example, the Arbiter and the following mission, I think it's called, oh god, it's been forever, Oracle, yes. If you finish the Arbiter with an empty energy sword, you actually can start the next mission. It looks like you have an empty energy sword, but it actually is a functioning one, and it has infinite ammo. That still remains in the game to this day, even through Halo 2 Anniversary. With Halo 3, there were lots of glitches in the game. I think probably the most notable one is just hammer jumping in the last mission. You know, and you can do that. And you can skip all the enemies in the process, all the flood that pour down from the tower. And also in the same segment, Sergeant Johnson is shooting a Spartan laser from a cliffside. And if you take him down, and I hate doing it because I love Sergeant Johnson, and you get his second iteration of the laser, it has infinite ammo. And you can use that to basically finish the mission. It's fantastic. That's still in there. Don't recall any directly for ODST, but for Reach, there was the mission Nightfall. This is probably one of the most famous glitches out there from the Bungie era, where in the third mission, Nightfall, there's a gate that you have to get through. Now, as the game is intended, you fight a couple of waves of Covenant, then the hunters drop in, and you have to kill them before the gate opens. Now, with the glitch, you can use a forklift that's in the area and essentially clip through the gate, and you don't have to worry about the enemies in that particular area as well as the enemies for the rest of the mission. You can just walk over there. It's one of the most famous glitches out there. For Halo 4, there are countless glitches, and this is the first, full game by 343 Industries, or full Halo game. Well, probably full game altogether, but still, there are tons of glitches that I utilize in both my Legendary and Mythic walkthroughs for that game. Halo 5, tons of glitches as well, and they've never been removed, and they've just been there. So I've given you some examples so far of glitches that have been in the franchise for the last 20 years. Why they would plan on removing this is beyond me. But I am going to tell you this. There are several things in campaign that desperately need to be addressed. The Scorpion gun is not one of them, and why they would put that as a priority over the things that currently need to be patched is beyond me. It is a very poor decision, not just for the player base, but for a business decision, especially with how much flack Halo Infinite has gotten so far. Now, again, just for the record, I actually enjoy the campaign. Overall, I think it's fantastic. I love the art style. I've said this before in my review. The art style is great. The gameplay feels really good. I consider, especially with the story being far better than Halo 5, I consider it a step in the right direction. This is not a step in the right direction. So I'm going to tell you right now, 343, if you're listening, first of all, don't patch the Scorpion gun unless you plan on somehow implementing it in a different way. And secondly, I'm going to tell you the things that need to be fixed first. These should be priority, not the Scorpion gun. Please make this happen. So first of all, the 5 things that need to be actually fixed in campaign are the following. 1, co-op. This is probably the biggest pet peeve of every classic Halo fan, and current ones as well, I'm sure. Co-op has existed in Halo games since Combat Evolved 20 years ago. This is the first Halo game that has not had co-op at launch. I get there are issues with the semi-open world thing, and maybe that's part of it. As I stated in my review, I don't fully understand that because Halo 3 ODST had a semi-open world scenario with, nighttime New Mombasa. Co-op worked then. I don't understand why it doesn't work now. Again, I know there are secondary objectives. I know there are collectibles, things like that. Maybe that's part of it, but we have had the semi-open world thing before in Halo. I don't understand why you couldn't borrow from that and just improve upon it. And that came out 10 years prior. No, longer than that. 12 years prior to Halo Infinite. Back in 2009. So, yeah, you should have been able to use some of those assets and concepts and ideas to implement co-op into this campaign. So that's the first one. The second one is selectable missions. Again, this is the first Halo game that you can't select the individual missions. You have to play the campaign in one go. And, that's insane to me. When I've created walkthroughs in the past, usually when I start releasing or start actually playing them, I analyze the missions. I start with the ones that I consider to be the easiest, and then I work my way up to the ones that are the most difficult. And so I get acclimated, and that's how I'm able to conquer the hardest ones. The hardest ones versus the easiest ones are not in order. They do vary. And Halo Infinite is not different in that category. Mission 3, for example, is, in my opinion, the easiest mission of the game. By far. It's essentially Halo Infinite's version of Floodgate from Halo 3. The first mission, also fairly simple, but the second one actually does, provide a fair challenge. And there are other easier missions in the game as well as more difficult ones, but they're, again, not in order. So it would be nice if players had the chance to acclimate to the difficulty in order to actually finish the campaign either on Legendary and get that achievement, or on Lazo. So that's my second one. The third one is Fresh Mission Restart. Some of you don't know what that means, but essentially, with the current state of the game, if you're playing a mission and let's say you die, and you want to restart the mission and try again, you don't start the mission with the weapons you had when you originally started the mission. You start the mission with the weapons that you had when you hit restart. So, just to give you sort of an example, let's just say you started the mission with a full battle rifle and a sidekick, or a pulse carbine, whatever. And as you're playing through the mission, you trade up your weapons or you deplete your ammo, whatever. And then, something happens, you die, or you feel the need to restart, because of your situation. If you hit restart, you start with those weapons and ammo. You start with the weapons and ammo that you had when you clicked restart, not the weapons and ammo that you had when you originally started the mission. So if you have, and this has happened to me before, 3% pulse carbine ammo and nothing for your secondary weapon or primary weapon, whichever, that's how you start the mission. With that needs to be fixed. That is a glitch. That needs to be fixed. The fourth thing I want to address on my things that actually do need addressing and need to be fixed is the save system. So currently you have 4 save slots. You don't get to choose when you save. The game automatically saves for you. And this sucks, because I've had instances before my capture software didn't do what I wanted it to do, basically. Sometimes it's on my part, sometimes it's on the capture software's part, whatever. And I couldn't revert back because the autosave kicked in. And so I couldn't restart the mission. I had to go to the next one. And that sucks. Every other Halo game has had a save and quit option until this one. The game decides when it's going to save for you. That is complete BS. That should not be a thing. Players should have the chance to manually save their games and come back to them later. If this means reducing the save slots, fine. But players should have that opportunity. The game should not decide when saves should happen. So that's one of the big ones right there. Manual save should always be an option for the player. The game should not make that decision. And finally, and I'll show you an example of this, objectives and triggers not loading properly needs to be patched as well. I was playing Excavation Site, which is the 5th mission in the game, and I'm trying to do my legendary walkthrough for it. There is a point, actually 2 things happened. So when I was trying to initially start this mission, there is I don't know if this is a glitch or just a feature. When you finish the mission, the tower/recovery, you beat Chatlock, you have the option to quote-unquote restart the mission for Excavation Site, because that's when Excavation Site is supposed to initiate. And what this does is it starts you across the bridge, and so you don't have to deal with as many enemies. So that's nice. You don't have to travel across all the land to get to the other island, and you can start the mission from there. Well, recovery didn't end, and I ended up having to replay recovery multiple times because I would restart the mission thinking I was on Excavation Site after beating Chatlock, and I ended up having to replay the previous mission over again, which that was annoying. It 3 times trying to figure out what the trigger was to start Excavation Site. So that was one. But the more prominent one, which is most definitely a glitch, not a feature, when I was actually on Excavation Site, you know how you turn those, I don't know what they're called, discs, whatever, to activate the pylons that you destroy. to disable the drill, the laser drill, I twisted the whatever they are. We'll call them, we'll call them panels, whatever. The pylons actually didn't activate. Just nothing happened. I twisted the knob around, and pylons didn't happen. So after all that work, I had to restart the mission again because of an in-game glitch. Those 5 things that I just highlighted for you, those are glitches. Those actually hurt the player experience. Those need to be fixed. The Scorpion gun does not. It does not negatively impact the player at all whatsoever. Zero. Zip. Nada. Again, for those who don't want to use it, you don't have to. For those, and I said this in my review too, if you feel like that people who use it somehow undermine your achievement for not using it, grow a pair. Seriously. That's absolutely ridiculous. It has no effect on your personal achievement. If you're that butthurt that someone got the achievement easier than you because of a glitch that was left in the game, that should apply to all Halo games with glitches, not just this one. You think it cheeses your experience? It doesn't. You can still post YouTube videos of your experience, assuming you capture your gameplay, and maybe a lot of people will be impressed by it. And maybe they'll, take those tactics and use it for themselves, who also don't like the Scorpion gun. But again, glitches have been used in Halo for over 20 years now. If you don't want to use them, you don't have to. But don't take them away from people who have. It doesn't make them less talented at the game. It just makes them smarter. So, in conclusion, I know I've been ranting a while now, and I want to take, the time to thank you all for actually listening to me. I'm not mad at Unyshek. Unyshek, you're a great guy. If this is what 343 is going with, I highly disapprove. This is, just I never really cared about being on the Forerunner program. This is the first time I kind of wish I was, because maybe I could have offered my 2 cents. But regardless, I think this is a decision that needs to be reversed. Please consider it, 343. There is absolutely zero need to remove this weapon from the game. I understand it was unintentional, but it does not detract from the player experience. It gives it more replay value, and I hope you take that into consideration. So I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down and watch this video. I do hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing for more great content right here on MythicTyrant.com, as well as more Halo Infinite content and Halo content in general in the future. If you like this video, again, please don't just subscribe, like, retweet, make this known. Let's try to actively get 343 to reverse the decision of removing the Scorpion gun from the game, if that is their intent. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful weekend. I'll catch you all right back here next time. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.